Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Thursday to you all. And really excited to be here with you today. And we have a really awesome show for you lined up. And it's a topic that I think is really going to resonate with each and every one of you. And that is the topic of websites, and specifically the do's and don'ts of displaying multiple offers on your website. Honestly, I cannot tell you the number of times I've had that question. Should I include multiple offers on the same page? Should I put them on different pages? Should I include the pricing? Like, that is a very common question. So we're going to nail that today, guys. All right. So I'm really excited to introduce to you. Some of you may know Whitney Bateson. And Whitney is from Whitney Bateson Digital Strategy. And I'm going to let her share a little bit more about her story. But she is a registered dietitian with an MPH. So she is, one of us, and moved into the space of, digital strategy, which is really super exciting. Before we jump in and have Whitney tell us a little bit about her journey, I just want to give you guys a quick overview of what you're going to learn from today's session. So, really, if you are a health practitioner, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, really any type of practitioner that is moving your business online, especially, you are in the right place. If you're not getting the results you want from your website, I would say probably time to try a new strategy, right? So that is what we're going to talk about today, the do's and don'ts of displaying multiple offers on your site, how to position your offers the right way so that you can increase your conversion rate. We all want that, right? And how to turn your boring website, which there's a lot of boring websites out there. I look at them all the time, into a sales generating machine, which is what we all want. So welcome, Whitney. I'm so happy to see you. Now, guys, this is the first time I've actually met Whitney. So I'm just getting to know her today myself as well. So really excited to have her here. So let's jump in, shall we? So Whitney, I always like to ask, tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, you've got some pretty heavy-duty clinical, degrees. You got the RD, the MPH. That's a lot of years of training.
Yeah.
What led you down this path? Digital strategy.
Yeah, and I'll try and keep it short. So I started off as a dietitian in school nutrition. I started working in DC public schools, and I did that for a few years. I worked for Chartwell's, a food service management company, and I just started realizing how much design and communication really factors into our success as dietitians and getting our messages across. And if our materials don't look good, if we're not being up with the times and the technology, then our messages are going to fall flat and someone else is going to take the baton and we'll be left in the dust. So I slowly, as I was still working in school nutrition, recognized my love for technology and marketing and design, and just cut to 10 years working in school nutrition and in the corporate setting. I decided it was time for me to branch out on my own and create a business that was going to help other dietitians and health practitioners to really grow their reach and gain access to the resources that I felt were really lacking as I was trying to get my message across to people. So I left my full-time job in early 2018, started my business, and then I also decided to start traveling the world at the same time. So I've been running my business remotely from different countries, and I'm in Panama right now. So
Amazing.
A little bit about me. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, isn't that just one of the biggest benefits of these types of businesses, where you get that, I always say, that location freedom? It's the best, right? Absolute best. All right. So, all right. So can you hear any background noise? Is it kind of loud?
It's all
Whitney?
good for me.
Okay. All right. Just want to check, because I am in a different place. All right. I am in northern Michigan on the beautiful beaches of Lake Michigan. And there's definitely some background noise. So just want to check in and make sure that's not too distracting for anyone. So never a dull moment. Just Whitney and I were talking about that, especially when you are traveling. I mean, it's so doable nowadays. You just need good internet. And I was thrilled to find out that this area just upgraded to fiber optic internet. I'm like, yes, that is so good because, you know, it's kind of way up, way up north. I don't know how they managed to get you know, brand new fiber optic, but we'll take it. So anyway,
Yeah, that is, it's really the limiting factor, you know, in the online business world. It's the internet and the time zones.
exactly. Yeah. Well, where you are, is central? Is that central time zone?
Yep.
Where you right now? Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the U.S. changes daylight savings, then we come back. So, but I'll be leaving Panama to head to Europe at the end of June. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I love that lifestyle. Amazing. So, all right, let's jump into our topic today. So, before we do that, though, I'd love to get a sense of who we have on the line with us and just give me a shout out. Like, let me know what, you know, your current state of your website, right? So, how do you feel like your website is performing for you? Do you feel like it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you so that by the time you get, you know, onto a discovery call, your ideal client is, you know, almost there, right? They just need to kind of seal the deal with the discovery call. So just kind of give me some comments and let me know where things are, guys. I'd be really curious about that. All right, so so to start our conversation, Whitney, what would you say some of the misconceptions are that health practitioners have when it comes to websites? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Yeah, what would you say some of those misconceptions are?
Yeah, I think I think there's a little bit of a delay, but.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay.
So I think one of the first things is that practitioners feel they don't need a website or that their websites don't make sales. And yes, if your website's not, oh man, the delay's kind of long. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, I can. It's all good.
I think we're letting the internet catch up with us.
I can hear you.
We were doing okay in the beginning. Okay, I'll just keep going. Okay. So the misconception is that you don't need a website. Okay. And that if your website is basically, okay. Yeah, sorry, I can try and stop my camera to see if that will help, but I don't know. So just basically a website that isn't set up correctly is not going to get you sales, and it's not going to be working and supporting your business. And so when your website is set up correctly, it can be very valuable, and it is something that you need to have in your business, and it can be helping you make sales, just like what you were talking about. And I also hear advice sometimes that you don't need a website when you are starting your business. And I think that's a very nuanced piece of advice there because, right, to get your first 1, 2, 5 clients, you're probably getting those from referrals, from family and friends, and a website isn't going to be as vital in those early stages. So I think there can be some confusion about when you need a website. But when you want to start maximizing your time and, like you said, have your website be doing the heavy lifting for you and have more time to be serving clients and creating new offers and hiring and managing people, you can't be getting clients at that point just from word of mouth and referrals and social media. You really need a sales system, and your website is going to be that system that is going to help you grow.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I could hear you just fine. There was no issue on my end. So let's see. Let's take a look at who we've got. Okay. Hey, Beth, how are you? So Beth is in one of my courses, Lucrative Course Blueprint, and she said most of her clients find her through Google via her website, but definitely room for improvement. And I would also like to drive more traffic to my website um, and blog for ad revenue. Love that idea. And then, hey Tammy, how are you? Tammy says, meh. Yeah, I'm sure many of us can relate to that. And then Amy from Seattle. Hey, Amy, welcome. And Amy's an RD shifting to an online practice and just building her website. So you are definitely in the right place and not where I need to be. Lots of work to do on my site, but it is quite time consuming. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, what would you say, like, if someone's just starting out, what would you recommend for
Mhm.
that person? Do you feel like they need, like the full-on website? Do they need, because I know when I started doing this work, well, let me back up. So my story is when I started my nutrition practice, I was one of those people where like it had to be awesome. I had this, oh my God, I can't even tell you, it's at least 10-page website. It had the shopping carts. You could buy labs. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was beautiful. People would say, "Oh, your website's really nice," but I can't really say it brought me in, I just thought people would be like, knocking down the door to try to come in. That did not happen with that website. I'm not sure why. Um, but so the next time around, when I started this business, I actually operated on a single landing page for quite a while, but I did have an opt-in, and I do think that landing page, it was a WordPress landing page, and I do think the visuals were good. The messaging I think was spot on, but it was just super, super simple, and I had an awesome freebie. And I was able to operate just with that in the beginning. So what are your thoughts for our people here that are just kind of starting out?
Yeah. I really love that example, Leslie, and everything you just said, because a pretty website, we look at the window dressing of all these websites out there, and we look at Squarespace templates and all of those things, and it's so pretty. But to your point, just because it's pretty, it doesn't mean that it's going to connect and be that sales system. So when we say sales system, it's exactly what you just said. It is having the right copy on your website. So it doesn't matter whether it's 1 page or 10 pages, whether it's Squarespace or WordPress. You need to have the right copy that's connecting with your customers, the words, leading them through a journey, explaining everything and connecting with them in words that they're going to use to describe their problems and their goals and things like that. You need to have your offers and services clearly shown. So if they're hidden, if you're kind of dancing around what it is you actually do, then it's not going to be clear either. And you need to have a way for people to book in with you, whether it's a scheduler or an intake form, a buy now button, and having that lead magnet, that marketing built in as well, because not everyone coming to your website is going to be ready to buy. And that's just wasted time and energy driving people to your traffic and then having them leave without connecting with you. So what I would recommend for anyone starting out is a workbook that I've put together. It's called Mapping Your Services. So it's whitneybateson.com/mapmyservices, all just one word. And that takes you through the strategy of identifying your customer, figuring out what services you want to display, and then how to work through that process of where am I going to display them, whether it's going to be on multiple pages or whether it's just a single landing page. It's really the strategy that goes behind the website that makes the website successful. It's not about how pretty it is, what designer you hired, what platform you built it on. Granted, WordPress is going to be better for SEO and for growing and longevity and things like that. And one other thing I'll say is that we have a masterclass coming up too that is talking more about those copy pieces and the marketing and the SEO as well. So you don't need to have this big fancy website starting out. But what I'm also imploring people is not to just spend 20, 30, 40 hours trying to come up with a Squarespace site, but not have the strategy behind it, because both of those scenarios are going to leave you not getting the results and feeling frustrated.
Mm-hmm. And I see that a lot, right? I'm all for bootstrapping and DIYing, but you know how it doesn't always end well, right? It does not.
Yeah.
You might end up with a website, but it really can end up just being super frustrating because it is, again, not doing its job. It's not doing the heavy lifting for you. And at the end of the day, let's just call it will cost you money at the end of the day, because time is money, right? So if you're kind of messing around, and you end up with, I don't know, just an inefficient website, and it can be frustrating, right? Because it's just not doing what it's supposed to do.
Right. So, yeah. And, we're dietitians, we're health practitioners, we're not web designers. I mean, I am a web designer, but most of us are not. And so to try and come up with that strategy for a website, I also believe firmly in business that it's worthwhile learning things that you're going to apply again. But learning how to create a website is not really a repeatable task that you can then apply to other parts of your business. Now, learning how to write copy, that's probably going to serve you well, because you're always going to be writing copy. You can hire people, but writing emails, writing captions, things like that. But actually designing a whole website, it can be tough, and it's not a skill that we're taught in school or that comes naturally. We're too close to our businesses,
or that you're gonna repeat, right? Unless you want to become a website designer. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, guys, and anyone that has been following my work at all, you definitely already know my philosophy, and that is do the things that generate revenue. That's what's in your wheelhouse, right? You need to be focused on generating revenue and doing the things that are going to bring clients in. Networking. I would say don't sit behind your computer and try to learn how to create a website at the cost of getting out there and talking to people, right? Getting out there and networking, doing talks, booking talks, generating referral partners. And that, unfortunately, is something I see all the time, right? And then, you kind of wonder, why is this not working? Well, it's probably because of that. A lot of times, we think we can do it all, and maybe we can, but should we? I don't think we should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right?
Yes. So true. And, we're a profession where we are going to push ourselves and really, really strive to do a lot, because we've gone through, like you said, I mean, we all survived organic chemistry. We can do anything, but it doesn't mean that we should.
Doesn't mean we should. All right.
Yeah.
And hey, Carrie, good to have you. So, and Carrie, actually, you do have a beautiful website. And I think you did create it yourself. And it is, it's visually very beautiful. I guess the question is, do you feel like it does it do the heavy lifting for you? And then Carrie also mentioned, I would like mine to bring the right people in and weed out the rest. So what do you think about that, Whitney? How would you go about weeding, kind of like going about that?
Yeah. So bringing in, there's obviously the attraction strategies of SEO to be bringing people to your site, putting out blog content that's been optimized for keywords and the right kinds of people that you want coming in. And then once you have people on your site, it is about having the copy that is going to resonate with the right kind of people. And you want to be using the words that are connecting with that ideal customer that you have right there, and displaying the services that you offer. I always like to have an FAQ section on a services page to address some of those questions. If you are all about intuitive eating and health at every size, you can have an FAQ that's like, is this going to help me lose weight? And that way you can address that question up front and not have a bunch of people getting on discovery calls with you where they're like, I just want to lose 10 pounds. And you're like, that's just not what I'm about. But a lot of times we spend too much time on the aesthetics and getting everything looking pretty and not actually thinking through, how are we leading people through a journey, and what are the words that we're going to be using to describe what we do, what we don't do, so that people can start weeding themselves out. And I had one of my clients just marvel at the fact that people were coming to her site on Google, and then on discovery calls, they were actually using the words that were on the website. Like, that's when you know you've hit it, when they're repeating, they're like, oh yes, as you said, and they're saying it on the call. That means that they connected with what you said, and that if they're connecting with it and they're getting on a call with you and repeating it to you, then there's going to be something there and it's going to be working well. So I think for Kelly, or Carrie,
Carrie.
I would look at your copy. Carrie, I would look at your copy, honestly, and how much information. We do want to hit a sweet spot with our copy. We want to give them kind of that dream trip experience of the benefits and how they're going to feel and all of that. And we don't want to be giving them too many nitty-gritty details. Sometimes we can fall into that trap of just listing out every possible thing that we have in a package. So don't feel that this means you need to throw a bunch more content on your site. It's about being strategic there. We want them to get excited and feel connected with us first, and then the details become important. And figuring out which details are the ones that are going to be enough to give people that idea of, weeding out, again, the people that are maybe looking for something that you don't offer and whatnot, but not necessarily listing out every possible thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I teach my clients, like, they don't really care, your audience, they don't care so much about all the details on how you're going to get them to that desired transformation. I mean, they care a little bit, but you don't have to go into like super graphic detail. And that's typically what we do, right? Because we're really into our process, right? And we think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread, which it is. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest. It is pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. But your clients don't really care. All they want to know is, am I in the right place? Do you get me? And can you help me to get to my desired transformation or outcome? And then mm-hmm. once you got them with those, 3 things, then, you can kind of sprinkle in what, how is it that you're going to get them there, right? But just really high level, because you don't want to just like bog them down with all of those details. So, yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I think it really speaks to this topic of multiple offers too, because sometimes we have lots of different things that we can help people with. I've been evolving my business and changing up the services, but at one point I was like, well, I can help you with SEO. I can help you with logos. I can help you with, graphic design. I can help you with blah, 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 blah. And what we do is we just throw all of those on our websites. We throw them all on our homepage. We give them all the same visual weight. So meaning they're all just like 6 or 7 different things just laid out. And it's confusing because then the visitor doesn't know, well, where should I go? You tell me what I need, rather than let me pick and choose which of these services I actually need. And so with multiple offers, and you'll see this in the workbook too, that really like maps this out, is you want to start with who are you designing your website for, and who are you speaking to? And if you have multiple offers, you may have multiple customers. So that's fine, but define those people. And then make sure you're very clear on your services. Don't touch your website until you know what your services are.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about which ones are most important. And it doesn't mean that the ones that are less important. So say you offer meal plans. That could be a very important passive income source for you, or it could be something that's just a supportive add-on service for your group coaching or your one-to-one clients. So decide how important it is in terms of how much profit you want to be getting from it, and in terms of how many people you think it are really going to want it, and then use that to decide how you're laying things out. And so it may mean that meal plans don't take up a big block on your homepage. Maybe it's just your group program and your one-to-one. And then once you have a page about your group program, you can talk about your meal plans as a really great additional service. And maybe you have an FAQ of people asking, can I buy your meal plans without joining your group program? And if it's a yes, then you can send them to your meal plans page or something like that. So it is about leading people through a journey and not giving them too much information up front, and using our own strategy, our own business strategy, to decide how our website is going to really convey that strategy and what our business is about and who we serve and what are our core products and what are the things that maybe you can still offer, but not put them all up there all at once.
I agree. Yeah, it just gets overwhelming and confusing. Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's kind of similar, maybe a little bit different, but just to your point. So maybe about 5 months ago, I was talking with a consultant that I was thinking about working with. Okay. And and I really liked her. She came highly recommended, all of that. And I heard myself saying, like, I really like, let's do this, let's do it. How's your calendar look next week? And then what ended up happening was she she said, well, let me send you a PDF with my my different packages. I was like, okay, fine. I took a look and there were 3 options. Seriously, 3 options. And I was like, I don't know. And so I emailed her and I said, well, which one do you think? And she said, oh, I think either option 1 or 2. I kept looking at it going, well, I haven't done anything, right? Case in point, you are the person, you are the expert, just like in this situation, because I had shared all about where I am, what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm really wanting her to say, you know what, Lesli, I really think option 2 is your best bet. Here's why.
Right.
Right. But she didn't. And I'm still thinking about it 5 months later. Not a lot. Not putting a lot into it because it's kind of like, past tense now. But it's just like, a confused mind will not make a decision. They just will not.
Right.
Okay. So you have to help your audience be crystal clear. So too much information is just a mess. I don't know how else to put it. Because they're just
that I couldn't have said it better.
So, and if I was confused, imagine what your people, right? Like, so it's super important. So too much information is not going to help you. So you just don't want to clutter things up on your website with just too much, right? TMI, as they say, right?
And I think, don't feel bad about guiding people in a certain direction. And because I think sometimes we can also feel, especially if we're just starting out, well, I need to have a very broad, I have to cast a wide net. So I need to have everything out there because I'm not sure what people are going to like. And there is some, I do think it's okay to experiment a little bit with, I'm not sure if people are going to like package 1 or package 2, but if we are just like, well, I'll just do everything for everyone and not point people in any direction, then they're going to end up just like what you talked about. They're going to be confused. The energy of the initial, like, oh my gosh, I found the person that's going to help me, just kind of gets sucked out of it. And and this goes for so many different situations in life where sometimes we feel that we're not supposed to be the leader. I always think about like volunteer situations and organizations, like no one's stepping up, and it's like no work is getting done because people like to be led, and it goes for our clients too. You are the leader, you are the expert. They came to you because you have the answer and the path, and you don't need to be pushy. It doesn't mean that if they say they want this, you say, oh, no, you need to do this.
So true.
It's just guiding people and letting them know, because then it's also showing that you took their goals and pain points and fears into account, and you came up with a customized recommendation saying, yes, actually, this package is the right one for you.
Oh, completely agree. Yeah. So another just little story. So when I had my nutrition practice, when I first started, this is before I knew a lot of what I know now, of course, I did know enough to have packages. Okay. So I had like a 3 session, 6 session, maybe a 9 and 12. Right. And I remember this happened a couple times where, I was meeting with a person and we were talking about what would be the next best step for them in terms of a package. And I would hand them the sheet and, basically say, well, what do you think? What do you want to do? Here's your options. And they would say, well, what do you think? And I would be like, well, I don't know. What do you think? And it was like, oh my God, looking back. No, they were waiting for me to say, okay, based on where you are, here's what I recommend. This is what's going to get you from point A to point B. So guys, you take the reins, be the leader, step up. That's what your clients really want. They don't want wishy-washy. If you think they need the high-end program, which let's just be honest, probably most people do, right? Maybe not everybody, but I would say most people probably need the most supportive program that you offer. Don't be afraid. Just, and to that point, in my opinion, you have one core program. So that kind of would avoid a lot of this back and forth. Maybe a core program and maybe a backup, right? So it's just super complicated when you're like, have 4 things, right? So I say focus on one thing and really design it to help your clients get those results that they want. I always like to say the 80-20 rule, right? Like, what is your average client, your target audience? Where are they now? What's going to work for 80% of your people? And then the outliers, you can have a backup plan for those folks, right? So anyway, guys, I tell you, I've made all the mistakes. It's true. I've done it all. So, all right. So, sales systems. Do you have anything that you want to add when we talk about websites as sales systems?
I think, just to reiterate that it is much more than just listing your services on the website. It is how the copy comes into play, how you're leading people through the journey on your site. Also making sure that every part of your site is working together. So another mistake that I see people make is they only cover their services on the homepage, and then their about page, for example, is just like, okay, well, this is about me, goodbye. And it's like, well, people came to your about page, they say your about page isn't about you, it's about your customers. So also be talking about pain points and how your story connects to whoever is reading it, and why you guys should be friends and work together, and have at the bottom of it an invitation to go read more about your services, or to book a call, or to go somewhere else. And same with whether you're writing a blog a month or one a week and you're getting a lot of traffic or a little, use that blog sidebar to be talking about your services there. Place calls to action throughout your blog posts, whether it's to a lead magnet or some kind of opt-in, or it's to your services or a program. So don't miss out on opportunities to have people get to your services in different ways, because people do not navigate your website by just going to the homepage and then clicking through to different things. We want to have lots of different opportunities for people to be going back and forth. It's not also a linear path. going to learn a little bit, then they might look at your services page, but then they're not sure. They'll go over to your blog, maybe read a few things about you, go back to your services. So we want to make it easy for people to keep cycling through. And then once they are ready, I just highly recommend and can't stress enough having some kind of act now responsive thing where it's a scheduler or a well-created intake form, not a generic, just give me your name and a message, but let people know that you are there on the other side of the computer. I think if you are going to offer discovery calls, then that's obviously a great solution. But if you're doing applications, have the application be customized with questions to learn about the person, and have it send an autoresponder letting them know that you've received their message and things like that. So these are all, the website is really pulling people in, and it's that marketing system, but then it is moving people into that sales funnel. And we really need the website to be working with all those different parts of your marketing and sales systems so that you're getting results from your website. So
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just little things like acknowledging receipt of a form, right? I think that's so important. And guys, what that does is it really helps develop that all important know, like, and trust, because people feel heard. They, little things like that really helps develop the relationship. So I love that. That's really, really good. So Whitney, do you want to talk a little bit about the steps in planning how to display your services on a website?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, it really is figuring out who you're selling to. So if you have multiple offers and multiple customers, they all may be women with gut health issues, for example, but they may have different needs, different desires, different price points that they're able to afford. And so write notes describing each of those people so that you really kind of get an idea in your head, and then figure out what you're offering. So if you don't know your services yet, or you're still figuring that out, now is the time to get clear. Like I said, please don't touch your website until you know what your services are, because you're going to just be stressed out trying to do your website while also writing out, well, this is what my packages are. So get that figured out first. Then figure out which offers and services are most important, and know how you want those to be in a series. If people are maybe having an entry point where they would then graduate to another program or something like that, decide how you want people to flow through that. And like I mentioned, for all of this, there's this guide, the Map My Services guide. So make sure if you're not taking notes on all of this, it is in the guide. And then figure out how they can be organized. So maybe it's showing that progression. Maybe some people do B2C, so business to consumer, and B2B, business to business. I know there are a lot of dietitians who they're doing consulting for businesses, but also still serving consumers. So how do you have your website resonate with both of those people? I would say first off, now it's going to be based a lot on those two businesses. And if they're very different, then we have to kind of work that out. But if there's some overlap, you still want to be figuring out which is your primary focus for your website. But then you can also say, well, maybe people can self-identify on the homepage. I am a busy mom looking to address issues with my picky eater, or I'm a brand wanting to connect with moms and our products. And then you can send people to the different services that way. So thinking through that organization. And I would also say here, sometimes we like to come up with like fun ways to organize things. We're like, oh, well, this will be about intuition, and this will be about mindfulness. And that's how we'll have our homepage laid out. But that can be open to interpretation and a little confusing to people when they're just wanting to know, well, how do you help me? What services do you actually give me for this? So you can still use those in different parts of your site, in your blog. You can have categories, you can do different things. Maybe that's your process or your pillars of how you approach whatever it is you're doing. But I just encourage people to organize your services in a logical, obvious way so that there is no confusion. To your point earlier about that confusion or indecision point when it comes to picking packages. It can also happen if someone lands on your site and they're just really not even sure how you can help them and what you can do. And then finally, just be thinking about like what I just mentioned about the different parts of your site and how these services can be displayed, and don't feel that you need to be stuck to just your services page. Utilize your footer. Think about what's going to go in your main navigation, and keep your navigation, that top menu bar, clean and streamlined. So if you do have 6 different things that you're wanting to tell people about, pick which ones are the priority. Don't put them all in there, or figure out how you can organize it so it isn't so overwhelming that it's just a long bar of lots of different menu items. So yeah, those are the steps that I would follow.
What's the max? Do you have that?
Well, sure in terms of the in terms of the top part, I would probably sticking to 4 to 5, and having that people read kind of in this zigzag pattern. So you want to have that final top right item be book a call. If whatever your most important thing is, that's what you want there. You can have some drop downs, but also don't use your drop downs as like a catch-all of, well, now I can throw everything in here. So keep it organized. You can use your footer.
Yeah, the footer too. A lot of us, we don't think to do that. That's actually a great idea. Yeah, like if there's too many choices, it's like, oh, it just seems like hard work,
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely want to be careful of that. All right, so I'm going to take a look at, we've got lots of comments. Let's see here. Okay, so Carrie says, yes, I did. She did create her own website. Love the comment about organic chemistry. We are superheroes for sure. Oh my God, if we can make it through that.
Yeah, barely.
Barely. Yeah.
Biochem was what actually, that's what really, memorizing all the Petri dishes. Oof.
It's a lot of chemistry. So yeah, those were the days, right? Don't miss those days very much. No. So, Karen, hey Karen, this is such great information. It's something I've learned over the years working with Lesli, but I find I keep trying to add more over time. I did outsource for help on my site for tech and copy. Awesome. And that gave me a great foundation, which is so good. Yeah, I'm really glad that you outsourced that, because Karen, then you have you've got a great foundation on your site, and I'm sure you were able to invest your time in doing CEO type tasks, growing the business, right? Which is really what you want to do. I've seen courses to create better copy, create better websites, and marketing strategy. What do you recommend for those RDs, very low business capital to start? Which has the best ROI? Any comments on that? I know it's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
I mean, I think trying to write your own copy is awesome, but yeah, I don't know. Not sure if I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think all of these things. Well, one of the things that you mentioned early on, and this was something that my business coach told me too, is focus on those revenue generating activities to get that capital going.
Right.
And so if you're working on wanting to create a course, that's going to be a long road potentially to get to ROI on creating a course. Whereas getting some of that fast cash, a little bit of serving clients one-to-one and things like that, can give you that capital to then invest into the right thing. And what I would say is, and what I would say too is invest in, and this is something that I'm thinking about for my own self, because I've been a little like, oh, well, I don't need to learn all of these different tactics. And I think it is true, we can get stuck in tactic land, but learning those things like sales and marketing can be things that really continue to support us and as we grow. So I would just be looking at courses where they are hitting those points of learning foundational pieces of running a business, like marketing, like copywriting, like sales. Maybe not something that's just showing you how to create great images or create logos on your own, because that's like, that's just not super valuable. But things that are giving you skills that are business skills, I think those are where you're going to get more benefit over time.
I would totally agree. Guys, I just have to say this, I really think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is if you know how to have a killer discovery call that's authentic and you actually have a roadmap, you are really just miles ahead of the game. Seriously. Most people don't know how to do that. They're very, very uncomfortable in the entire sales process. But the reason I love that so much, and honestly, that is where I would start, it is a game changer because truth be known, you can just be out and about. Guys, you could be at the farmer's market, you could be anywhere in your life, at a dinner party, whatever, and you can come across someone who might need your help, right? Just in everyday life. You can invite them into a deeper conversation. You don't need all this fancy marketing automation. All you need is your voice, right? You can just say, hey, I'd love to continue this conversation. I'd be happy to offer you some one-on-one time complimentary. Would you be up for that? That's it. It is literally that simple. You get on the phone. Of course, you have to provide value. That's probably a topic for another day in terms of how to do that. I do have like an entire course just on just that conversation, but it's a game changer. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I really agree with Whitney in that you guys, I believe you would want to start. Are you guys familiar with my profit pyramid? I know many of you are. You want to start at the top of that profit pyramid, way up here, your high end offer, because it takes one person to say yes, and you're generating revenue for the business. And you don't need like a whole big list, right? And I just really believe that is your best place to start. And then you can start to reinvest, right? So once you start getting clients, you're able to reinvest in the business and, make some really awesome updates to your website and your copy and things like that. So let's see. Okay, so that is, so we both, Whitney and I, kind of shared our thoughts on that. Okay. So we do have a question. I don't want to forget this one. What about listing prices? This is like the $1 million question, right? I see this all the time.
Right. No pun intended. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's obviously a personal opinion. I like listing prices because it does ensure that people, when they get on a call, they're the right fit and they have an idea of what's going on and what the prices are going to be. If you are uncomfortable listing specific prices, I think it's also fine to, on your questionnaire, to say my programs start at this price point. And, are you prepared to make that investment? You can say I have payment plans available or something like that. Just something to screen people. It's good for them because obviously people want to have information and they don't want to feel embarrassed if they show up on the phone with you and, they were thinking it was going to be $100 and it's like, no, it's $1,000. So it really, to me, it prepares your visitors in some way. And then of course it makes sure that you're making good use of your time. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Mine's a little different, but that's okay.
Great.
That's the beauty of this, right?
We've agreed on a lot of things. So I think this is good to have some different opinions here.
I do like your idea about giving them a clue, though. I really think that's important. And, just kind of giving them a little bit of insight on the form, right? I guess the challenge that I see is, well, most of my clients are, like, their programs are 1,500, 2, 3, even up in term,
Mm-hmm.
1,000. And it's challenging because the client has no idea in terms of the value, right? So,
That's
um,
true.
and the thing
Make it
that
tough.
worries me is they see that number and they're like, I'm going to go find someone way cheaper. And they might do that anyway, but without like any ability to anchor down the value, um, with that investment level, I think you're probably gonna get here. How about this? If you've got lots of people coming in and you're so busy that you don't know what to do with yourself, I would say put it out there for sure.
Right.
If, on the other
Yeah.
hand, because you will get far fewer inquiries without a doubt. So I guess it's
Yep.
a balance, but I do like the
Yeah.
idea on the form, the application. I
Mm-hmm.
do like that idea to give them just a little bit of a clue so that they're not completely taken off guard. So yeah, but it's good
Yeah.
to have like differing thought processes on that because the truth is
Well,
that there's not
yeah.
one way to do it, right?
Right. Well, I think also you bring up a good point too. It really is also going to depend on the type of product and the price point
Yeah,
as well.
good
If
point.
if you are offering smaller packages and you are getting a lot of people coming in and they're just like totally missing the mark in terms of what they think the price is going to be, then yeah, to your point, it's really circumstantial. And everything in business is an experiment, is what I try to
It is.
remind myself and tell other people. And and we learned how to do this in school. You just have a theory, you try it, and then you see what the results are, and then you just keep going. So be watching to see how many leads are coming in, taking note of how many people are having price objections, and then making adjustments based on that. It is all none of us know. You know,
Yeah.
you're the first person doing your specific business. You can take advice from other people, but you're only going to know what works for your business by actually experimenting and taking note of what the results are and then adjusting. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's really true. It is. I love that. It's a grand experiment, right? We're living in a big
yeah,
experiment, but you got to be willing to do that, like just try different things and see what works. And your circumstances may change, right? So maybe right now you're just starting and you're like, oh, I just want to get practice having those conversations with people. If
yeah,
that is you, I probably wouldn't put a $1,500 price tag on your page, right? Because that will, I think, deter most people.
yep,
On the other hand, if you've been doing this a while and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I'm actually okay if I get fewer
yep,
inquiries coming in, then by all means. So you just have to kind of balance it out. And then the other thing I would say is it is nice to have that's when later in your business it's nice to have a backup, right? So that's where one of the things I teach
mm,
is multiple streams of income. But I do like to start with that one-on-one at the top of your profit pyramid, but then build
mm,
out those other levels so that people that aren't in a position, they want help but they're just not in a position to be able to financially afford the high end, you've got something else for them that fits the bill. So so
yep.
I oh yeah, and this I always feel it's the biggest package. And then okay, so this is when we were talking about offering what you think is best, right?
Ah, right.
And it is true because that's kind of how I used to feel as well, and that's why I was like, well, what do you think? Well, what do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But they are looking to you to guide them. So, and guys, just remember, you're in business to get people results. So, really, instead of getting kind of hung up on, oh, but it's the highest price item, I would let that go and just really really try to just recommend what you think is going to be most helpful.
Yeah.
Wow, almost an hour has gone by. This is like the like fastest hour ever. So much fun. Great
It's
talking with
so
you.
much fun.
So Whitney, tell us where would you recommend our audience? What's the next step for them?
Yeah, so definitely download the workbook that I've been talking about. Go to whitneybateson.com/map my services. So map my services,
Okay.
all one word. And then also I have a masterclass coming up in a few weeks where I really dive into all of the different pieces that need to be on your site to make it a sales system. And I highly encourage people to check that out. It's free. I'm offering it a few times. Just go to whitneybateson.com/masterclass and you can find that there. And yeah, I'm just so excited to continue to talk with people. Feel free to message me on Instagram at Whitney Bateson. And it's just been a wonderful conversation, Lesli. Thank you.
It's been awesome. Let me just take a peek. We got a couple more. Thank you. Hey, Kim, thank you so much. It's super helpful and exactly what I wanted to hear or needed to hear. So I'm really happy
Great.
about that. And Delia, hey, Delia, for high prices, speaking to the customer and using your sales and persuasive skills. I remember people buying the 1K vacuum cleaning due to the sales rep convincing conversations. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a whole topic in terms like, I never want you to feel like you're convincing someone. No arm twisting, right? Um, I mean, the long and short, at least from my perspective, is if you can help that person get clear on where they are now in their challenge and, how is that holding them back? You cannot tell them, you have to ask, right? They have to hear themselves articulating the struggle and
Mhm.
also help them to get clear on where they want to be and how their lives could change. So I really think like getting clarity around those points, point A and point B, and then you can say, based on everything I'm hearing, I really feel like I can help you get there. Would you like to hear what that would look like? I mean, it's really as simple as that. So, um, all right, Tammy, very helpful. Awesome. All right, guys, this was a wonderful time. Really enjoyed getting to know you, Whitney. And
Likewise.
guys, definitely take advantage. Go to her website, download the workbook, and I would definitely recommend that you attend her masterclass coming up. So, Whitney Bateson, yeah, oh, we've got her. You guys can see the spelling of her name right there.
Yep.
Bateson. That's with
Yep.
an not an M. All right.
Yes.
Slip that in there. All right, guys. Definitely sign up for her masterclass coming up. And that is it for today. We got to wrap up. So I know everyone's got places to go and work to do. So have a great rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Bye for now.
Bye.